Today we are talking about another old fighting game. Yay! I'm so excited, can't you tell? I just love playing these. Tekken 2 was released back in 1995, the same year as the first Twisted Metal game, actually. We've already talked about the first game in the franchise. It genuinely impressed me with very fluid gameplay. The graphics were not very good, of course, which is expected. All the character models looking like shit in modern times, but back then, people probably were going crazy over them because the whole game was in 3D. Since 3D gaming was a new thing and people were still experimenting with stuff, going back and looking at them to see how they evolved is actually a pretty interesting journey to take. Tekken 1 on the original PlayStation was the first ever game on the console to reach 1 million sales. People clearly had an interest of the home releases of these games. Of course, again, I will be playing the PlayStation version since this is the one that I played as a kid, and with old fighting games, I'd rather be kicked in the head by a horse than play the arcade versions because we all know how disgusting they are and the AI is just ridiculous in those. When I make videos on these games, delving into them for the first time in years, I like to judge them based on, the game instead of me getting fucked up by bullshit counter moves. From memory, you should see the arcade version of the final boss of this game like completely repugnant, like absolutely disgusting how fucked that fight is. So we'll be playing the PlayStation version, which will ensure that I'm not gonna yell in the microphone the entire time. With the fast sales numbers of the original Tekken, a new one was expected, blowing everyone out of the water, right? Tekken 2 is awaited by the kids to have better graphics, more characters, more modes, and a bigger roster and everything under the sun. Did it deliver? I mean, probably. We're going into the 8th installment of a main series game at this point. But does the second game hold up today? 23 years later, let us find that out. The first game just had arcade mode for play, which was nice at the time, but thankfully the developers decided to add some more ways to experience the game. We have team battle, time attack, and survival, allowing us to get more time in other ways. Even a practice mode was added finally, so you can try out new characters, seeing who you like and who you don't. Starting character roster is 10 this time. Heihachi is there from the start, King doesn't look like a sock puppet anymore, and Nina's hair doesn't look like warm pasta and actually looks like hair. I decided to go with June this time around. Sorry, Iron Grandpa, but someone else needs playtime. Starting in a dark chapel-looking area fighting King, this game feels much of the same, which is not an insult at all. I was constantly praising the gameplay for how fluid it is, the attacks and combos are all responsive, but the AI has brain damage since they aren't fighting back whatsoever. It is the first couple of fights, I know, but we're all used to the AI getting ready to fist us on the second fight, so it threw me off a bit. Some weird shit happened with Heihachi. I don't know if it was a glitch or not, but he did around 70% of my health with one hit. Never in my life I was expecting to lose a Tekken round in 2 hits, but alright. How is that fair at all? Is it just because Heihachi can do whatever he wants or something? So I broke him into pieces with my fighting powers since he can't win without his plot armor and cheats. The backgrounds of the stages are all 2D scrolling, which is a classic, but makes me feel like I'm playing the first game but better. Outdoing themselves with this game and making their prior game completely irrelevant right at the release of it. Saying it's similar to the first game is not a complaint at all, but when you go back and play some of these games you realize like, holy shit, why would I ever play Tekken 1 after playing this game for 5 minutes? Losing for my first time at stage 5 was shocking in multiple ways. Usually I'm used to losing at the second or third fight from the counter move shit. The AI has been pretty slow moving, making it more playable but very easy. Sometimes they just stand there and do nothing at all during the fight. When I found June's spinning kick move on the ground, it seemed to be an AI exploit. They never really try to counter it that much, so it's good to have in my back pocket as a really helpful tool to have. That's nice that Law doesn't look like a pencil anymore. His screams are still annoying as shit though, which you hear for the entire fight. I get he's supposed to be Bruce Lee's clone, whatever, but can you guys make him shut up for 5 seconds while I fight him? Lei ended up being the first time I got perfected throughout my run so far, so a challenge was expected here. I was winding up the pussy play, being prepared for anything and everything. But no, it was just a trick. He kinda just fell over on the other 2 rounds and I kicked his ass. My sub-boss character is Wang Jinrei, or Wang if you want to call him that. He makes these suggestive sounds whenever you hit him, so I'm not really the biggest fan of listening to it. Everyone expects difficulty or is ready for the game to be fucked at stage 8. Realizing I'm about 7 minutes in already is insane. I struggled so bad with fighting games, so getting this far this fast is very shocking to me. Granted, this is the PS1 version and not the arcade version, but I want to be happy with something for once in my life. Now we are finally at the bullshit Kazuya himself. Earlier I talked about how the arcade version of him is fucked. I'm not joking about that. Playing it the last time, he won against me like 50 times before I actually finished the game and beat him. Obviously, the home version, it won't be that bullshit. He loves to spam his 10-hit combos all the time during the fight, which all of them connect. I believe you do take 100% damage. That was not figured out though, since I tried to guard it the best way possible. Being very slow was my goal, playing reactive and doing pussy play was my best way of success, which of course worked eventually, thank fucking god. But we are not done yet. Probably the coolest thing to kids is when Kazuya turns into the devil himself, or at least that's what the stupid kids thought. Then it becomes the final boss of the game. You have to watch out for the laser attack on his head. It will stun you for like 10 years and it is unblockable. He also tries to do the 10-hit combo thing by using it over and over again, so you need to watch out for that. I beat him much easier than Kazuya for some reason, which I was thankful for, kind of. I was hoping more of an interesting boss fight, but I'm happy I didn't have to deal with the load of shit to get June's ending. not sure what that even was. She's the Animal Kingdom itself, I guess. Make of it what you will, but surely the devs would probably like, look at our new technology and look what we can do now, guys, with our 3D and CG animation. That is the end of Tekken 2 already. Revisiting these older fighting games is quite short since there's not much content to go around. This was definitely a lot shorter than I wanted it to be because I finished it so fast. Usually I lose a lot or start getting pissed, but I finished the game here with relative ease. The only time I actually had trouble is when I fought Kazuya, which is the hardest opponent on the ladder. Devil I beat on my first try. He was acting pretty stupid and did not pose much of a threat. It's unfortunate, but sometimes that's how it goes. The only mode in the game I don't understand is time attack, because you're timed on the arcade ladder, so why do you even need a time attack mode? It just doesn't make sense. Survival is you trying to beat as many people as you can without losing a single round, essentially. I think it's the most fun part about this game. You have to test your skills against the AI that will eventually become gross on about the 9th or 10th fight. It's still a good time though. For winning the game with June, I ended up unlocking the sub-boss character again, Wang Jinrei in my case. Thankfully, they brought it back from the first game where every time you finish the arcade mode, you unlock the character right before the boss fight, which in my case was Kazuya in this game, even being able to play as Devil himself. There are some secret characters in the game too, like Alex, to bring the entire roster count up to 25, which is insane for the time, and I believe that's the biggest roster of any fighting game in the 90s. Before playing this, I was not aware the game had that many characters to choose from. That's more than some of the future Tekken games. The combat is actually really good at even today's standards, which is more can be said about Mortal Kombat. Sometimes the games are just a product of our time. Like, after I beat classic Mortal Kombat games, I don't want to touch that shit again because of the garbage can asswipe AI nonsense. Even the console version is completely disgusting at times. They are games that were good for the time, but did not age very well when it comes to the single player aspects. I always get told, oh, play with a friend, it's much more fun. Like, yeah, obviously you could play in a septic tank and find a way to have fun with a friend. I know they were arcade games, which is why a lot of older fighting games don't hold up now. Arcades are not really a thing anymore when it comes to having Tekken or Mortal Kombat cabinets. You'll end up playing them for the novelty and putting it down quickly afterwards, not even because the game is bad, it's just how the AI is and how they blatantly cheat. It's just something people don't want to deal with anymore. I know why the games are like this since they wanted your quarters. They wanted to take as much money as you can, making you feel like you had a chance to win, when in reality they're reading your inputs and cheating you out of your money. Tekken was more of a skill game, and if you were better at it, you could do well on the arcade ladder as fucked as it could be, which is why I prefer the older Tekkens over the classic Mortal Kombat games. As cheap as the AI is in Tekken's arcade, you can at least have some enjoyment, whereas in Mortal Kombat you can't even move sometimes. There's no skill involved. AI exploitation is not skill, making those games not hold up today, but Tekken 2 holds up for sure. The only complaint I have is that it takes ages to stand up, which can get really annoying falling on the ground, but everything else is really good, genuinely. There's just one problem. The same exact thing happened with the first game happened to the second. They made a good game that has a lot of unlockables, progression, good fighting mechanics, adding to the combos, adding to the move list into the game, more stuff to do, more reasons to play, completely blowing the first game out of the water, making the players think, why would I ever play the first game again? Then Tekken 3 came. They innovated more, adding more content, adding more to the fighting system, more characters, better graphics, stages, and everything once again, making me say, why would I ever play Tekken 2 again when I can just go back and play Tekken 3 instead? Leaving this game on the shelf once again for the next title in the series.